We are getting ready to start the month of December in season number 4, and we are currently sitting at 11-4, half a game back behind the top-seeded New York Knicks, who we will be taking on in the very last game of this episode. In the last offseason, we re-signed Brandon Jennings to a huge long-term 6-year deal, and so far it's been paying off for us as he's been averaging nearly a double-double for us. Let's see if he can keep that play up here through the month of December, as we were on the road to open up the second month of the season, taking on the New Jersey Nets. Uri Gallagher was taken in the same class as Dante Wooden and Lonnie Roberts, and even though he's carved out a nice career with the Nets so far, it is definitely safe to say that our two rookies have panned out a little better in their career so far. Speaking of those two rookies, Dante Wooden would find Lonnie Roberts wide open for 3, and then it would be our big man vet Andrew Bogut drawing the foul, getting to the free throw line, giving us a 4-point lead here before the end of the first quarter, but Devin Harris would cut that down to only 2, and it has been a close contested game here early on as Murray Everett would find a 3 from the corner, and even though there hadn't been as much scoring here in the second quarter tonight, we were still holding on to our lead, with Brandon Jennings pulling up for 3 at the buzzer as he'd knock it down, giving us a 5-point lead over New Jersey headed into halftime. Even though we had a lead, it wasn't that comfortable as Uri Gallagher would get things started for the Nets, and then Brook Lopez on the baseline would cut our lead down to only 1. A great pass from him here to Devin Harris on the fast break, and that would give New Jersey their first lead of the second half as we would trade leads back and forth until the buzzer here, with New Jersey tying it up here in the fourth quarter and then taking the lead back early on. The way we were trading buckets back and forth here in the fourth, it looked like it would be a tight one. With just over a minute to go, we were still trading leads back and forth. And then it would be Brandon Jennings pulling up from 3 on the right wing, giving us a 2-point lead, but some great ball movement here from the Nets would tie it up, giving us one last chance to try to win this game at the buzzer as we would go to Brandon Jennings, but that shot would be off. So for the first time this season, we were headed to overtime here on the road as Brandon Jennings would step up and get us started from deep. We were really heating up from beyond the 3-point arc here in overtime, and that allowed us to extend our lead, which we weren't able to do at all in the fourth quarter, as New Jersey just wasn't able to keep up with our offense here in the overtime period, and we would get the 73-64 win on the road. 2 weeks into December, and we were on a 9-game winning streak so far, and that was enough to allow us to overtake the New York Knicks as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. We were now looking to make it a 10-game winning streak, and it would have to do so here at home against the Chicago Bulls. Despite their record, they were never an easy team to beat simply due to Derrick Rose, and they would hop out to an early 4-0 lead before we would get our first bucket. Down by 5, we hadn't been playing that well in the first quarter, but would get one last bucket here before the end of the first. Despite that though, we hadn't held the lead once this entire game. Murray Everett would do his best to try to get us back in it with a 3 here on the fast break. Despite that though, we were still down by 6 with under 2 minutes to go. That lead would be cut down to 3 and Dante Wooden would try to tie it up here from the right wing, and while we weren't leading, we at least had tied it up before halftime. The Bulls offense had got out to a hot start in the second half here as they would go up by 6 again, and while we seemed to be keeping it close and manageable, we just couldn't tie it back up. This 6-point lead for the Bulls would stay all the way through the third quarter tonight, and early on in the fourth quarter, they were starting to extend that lead more. We had just over 2 minutes to go if we wanted to try to come back and win this game to make it a 10-game winning streak, and after getting it down to only 3 points, we had less than a minute and a half to go as Brandon Jennings would make it a 1-point game. And who else would we go to when we needed 3 points to tie it up as Dante Wooden would hit this corner 3, and then our third-year shooting guard with less than 5 seconds to go would come up clutch, but somehow we would leave Luol Deng wide open in the corner, and that meant this game was going to overtime just like the Nets game. We started heating up at the end of the fourth quarter from 3, so hopefully we could knock some more down in overtime, and even though we were doing that, it didn't help that we were leaving the Bulls wide open for 3 as well. Up by 1 with less than 10 seconds to go, they would have to intentionally foul us, and Brandon Jennings would knock down both of his free throws, putting us up by 3, but there was still a chance they could tie it up as Luol Deng would do it again. Literally the exact same play. I can't believe we fell for the same play twice, just reversed to to the other side. And because of that now, we were in double overtime and the Bulls were going to take the lead. We found ourselves in a familiar position, tied up with less than 10 seconds to go. Dante Wooden would hit this three, and we made sure we were going to guard this corner with our life as they would go back to Luol Deng. We would bring the double team here. He would give it to Derrick Rose, who would fire this at the buzzer, and it would be no good. And we would manage to hold on in double overtime against Chicago, with Dante Wooden having a fantastic 36-point game on 11 for 13 shooting from deep. That double overtime win would give us a 10-game winning streak, but it would end 3 games later at 12 as we would lose to the Raptors at home. We were now getting ready for a game on the road against the Atlanta Hawks, a team who had overtaken the Knicks by half a game to take the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. I was hoping that this game went a little better than the game against Chicago did and that we didn't have to go to double overtime. And if we could keep shooting like this the entire night, there was no way that would happen. It took almost a minute and a half for Atlanta to find their first basket of the night, but we had the complete opposite problem as we just could not miss from beyond the arc in the first quarter. We were moving the ball great and everybody was getting involved in the offense early on. And before the end of the first quarter, we found ourselves going up by over double digits against the Hawks. The offense didn't seem to slow down at all throughout the second as we went from beyond the arc to fighting inside the paint, but that didn't mean we were going to stop shooting the 3 ball at all this quarter either though. Headed into halftime, we had a 13-point lead over Atlanta, and we just needed to keep playing the way we did the entire first half to keep this double-digit lead over them. Nearing the end of the third quarter, it was still a 14-point deficit for the Hawks, but that would soon change in the fourth as they had a chance to get it under 10 points, and would do just that with Josh Smith hitting his free throw. It was time for us to try to extend this lead and seal the game, as Atlanta just couldn't seem to out-rebound us, and we got so many second chance points to get our lead back up over them, not even giving them a chance to get back into this one, as we would take the huge win over them with a dominant 21-point victory here in the Phillips Arena, thanks in part to almost 2 double-doubles from Andrew Bogut and Brandon Jennings. Our luck wouldn't continue though, as we would drop the next 3 straight games to Boston, Cleveland, and Detroit, but thankfully still held a 3-game lead over the Knicks headed into this final game of December. We needed to snap this 3-game losing streak against the Knicks here tonight, and we were off to a good start, but it was going to be tough as the Knicks had one of the best rookies in the league. Deon Hodges was New York's first-round pick in this last season's draft, and he was off to a great season as he was named the Rookie of the Month for the Eastern Conference. If we wanted any chance at beating the Knicks tonight, we would have to slow him down, as he's been one of the main reasons this New York team has been able to get off to such a great start this season. It was a closely contested game here throughout the first quarter, and we would take the lead with this Brandon Jennings 3, and our point guard would bring the ball up and knock down one more shot for us before the end of the quarter, where eventually we would start to see the lead extend even more up to 6 points and counting. New York had been keeping it close though, and with just over a minute and a half to go in the first half, they'd got it back down to a 4-point game where we thought we would get the last bucket of the first half, but Kyle Lowry would come off a screen and knock down this 3-pointer right at the buzzer, knocking our lead down to only 3 headed into halftime. We needed to get some more offense going in the second half if we wanted to win this game, because with the stacked roster that the Knicks had, a 5-point lead was just not enough to hold them off. Up by 8 now, our lead was slowly but surely starting to grow as we would get it to a 10-point lead, but New York wouldn't go away as they'd get it back down to 9 right before the end of the third quarter. They would slowly continue chipping away at this deficit in the fourth, but then made a crucial mistake, leaving Brandon Jennings wide open off this inbounds pass. No one even tried to cover him once he got the ball, letting us get our lead back up to double digits, and once that happened, there was just nothing that the New York Knicks could do to come back and win this game, as we would get the 65-53 victory over them, snapping the 3-game losing streak, and had done a great job holding their rookie Deon Hodges to only 7 points in this matchup. That would bring us to the start of January 2024 here in season number 4, and after that win, we now had a 4-game lead over the Knicks and a 3-game lead over the Hawks. Throughout the month of December, Brandon Jennings really stepped up and solidified himself as the team leader, and hopefully that play can continue throughout the month of January next episode for us.